The Uncuckables.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Uncuckables on a Thursday night. This is episode 12 and it is really cold here in Melbourne. I'm Tim Wilms, editor-in-chief of The Unshackled, and I'm here always with David Hiscock, editor of XYZ.
Always a pleasure to be here, Tim. I think the grand solar minimum is hitting us pretty hard.
Yep, and we've got somebody who's in ninja form at the moment.
Ninja. Hello, everyone. I am white, black ninja here because I'm cold.
If in the comments you can guess who it is.
It's a little... yeah, I don't know who it is. It smells like Maddie, but I can't be sure.
Hey, you don't give it away.
Or you're just saying it could be.
It could be me. I am Asian assassin here to.
Are you really Asian?
I'm actually.
What's 7 times 9?
63.
Yeah, he's Asian.
There you go.
I'll
Just getting the live chat up. It's slow.
I better take this seriously. Yeah, heck.
Oh, he's revealed himself.
Yeah, I'm no longer in India.
Yeah. All right, so let's get on with the show now. We've called this episode Fashtag Warning because the alt-right, the white supremacists, neo-Nazis, they appropriated another
What are they?
common symbol.
What? Don't you mean white supreme pizzas and new Nazis?
I can't keep up with all the different names that
No, you got it
inventing for everything.
No, we have to because YouTube will downrank videos if you use certain words in your content. So you basically got to call them. I've decided that I'm going to call the WPs just white supreme pizzas.
Just do the entire live stream in Mongolian.
Did you know that there's a brand of cigarettes, Peter Jackson, they have a flavour Supreme White?
Oh my god,
Peter Jackson Supreme Whites.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So, somebody could get triggered over that.
We could call them. We could start calling them Peter Jacksons, but that's a little bit too subtle.
I'll smoke it next time I get milkshaked.
Milkshake, I didn't.
You mean assaulted?
Did it happen
Yes.
to you?
No, but maybe.
One of your musos.
Yeah. Do you know I was once working at Melbourne University when a guy who was actually dressed in army fatigues got paint thrown on him in the student union, and people thought it was perfectly reasonable. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Bloody university students.
Yeah.
We need to defund all the universities for that. Just for that.
Just for that
alone.
Yeah.
All right, let's have a look at this. I think it broke on Tuesday. I did an article about it. The white supreme pizzas. They're taking over everything. Secret neo-Nazi symbol.
Neo-Nazis. New Nazis.
Nazis.
They're new Nazis.
Fascists worldwide are using secret
Fascies.
symbols and greetings to easily recognize each other. 1488 or 14/88, which, well, we know what the 14 words are, but 88 doesn't stand for Hail Hitler. It stands for the 88 precepts.
Yeah, that's a common misconception.
Yes.
A lot of lefties and even normies actually think that it stands for Hi, but it actually just means the 88 precepts, which, if you understood the 14 words, you know the 88 precepts are just an expansion on the 14 words.
We actually, Maddie and I recently did our 69th live stream.
69, dudes.
That means that we are 19 weeks away from doing an epic live stream where we go through every single one of the 88 precepts.
Yeah,
We're gonna just I don't care if like there's a nuclear explosion that week. We're just going through those precepts.
What if there's massive news though? We might have to do an extra one if there is.
No, we'll just go longer.
Yeah, we'll have to do an extra one because at 88 precepts will take a while.
Yeah.
A minute per precept, that's 88 minutes.
So true. Maybe we could speed run it.
Then the second one is the white power sign.
Oh, is that the that
Hang
one?
on, I'll bring us back up.
The
That
WIPO
one,
sign,
that
really.
one.
It's the
Yeah.
WIPO sign.
So hang on, we've already had the 14 words, yes?
That's 14.
That's 14
Words. Wipe out.
and white
Wipe out.
power. Yeah.
What if you do that?
then you look like an Asian ninja again.
It's like, oh.
What else? Oh, we've got Pepe the Frog.
So does that mean if we go like this?
Oh, hang on.
Yeah, okay. So now we're Pepe.
What's that?
And if you're alt-light, then you're Kermit.
Ah, yeah, of course. And then there's the Fashtag.
Oh, that's
The
hilarious.
I've been doing this.
So,
We've got to pull this in.
yeah.
That. The Fashtag.
I haven't done it before.
That's
But
the Fashtag. I've been doing that for ages. 4chan stole my thing.
So does that mean
I
that
lead 4chan in this one.
So that means that the most authoritarian key signature is G sharp major.
they left off a few off
That's a muso joke, I'm
off
sure.
that illustration there because milk is white supremacy. Peter
White
says,
Supreme Pizza C.
Well, it's white substance.
Wow, yeah, of course. I think it's funny that 4chan are trying this.
Did you say Fortran?
4chan. I don't think this particular attempt is going to work, but who knows? They could force meme it into existence.
Well,
The
I think they
lefties
could,
might-
but basically every single time you put up a hashtag, you're using a fascist symbol. Imagine that.
Yeah.
We're reclaiming the rainbow.
Yeah,
Now
that's-
we're
they left that
taking
one off
over
it.
the hashtag. Let's
Yeah.
just make everything
we call it it's the Fashtag.
yeah
from now
a
on.
symbol that is like forbidden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because in Sweden they want to ban runes, ancient Norse runes.
Oh,
Did you hear
yeah,
about that? They
yeah.
wanted to ban runes because they call it the Nazis, the neo-Nazi
The
white
identitarian groups are
supremacies.
using them. Yeah.
White supreme pizzas have been using it. They're basically Swedish nationalists have been using it as their symbols. So the Swedish government, under influence of certain people. You know what I mean? Certain people.
It doesn't echo this room.
It doesn't?
No.
Oh, well, I don't know what that was then. I just heard one.
Hang on, we can do one between.
Yeah.
Here we go.
What was it?
Say certain people.
Certain people.
Certain people.
Certain people.
Certain
No, you have to do it like you go, certain people, and then you do it.
That's what I did.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Failed. Anyway, they've been trying to make these runes banned, and it's funny because the fact that they are using it automatically means that in the minds of certain people, not echoing, they're just certain, the lefties, the globalists, the pearl clutching doctors' wives.
Yes.
Because they're using it, it's somehow bad. It's kind of that same principle. So if we start calling it the Fashtag, and every time someone says something, oh, that's Fashtag, you mean? Don't you know that's actually
So-
that's an ethnic nationalist symbol? Then eventually they could just want to ban it. And ultimately, what's great about this whole strategy is it shows the absurdity of censorship and how silly it actually is.
Yeah.
They're ceding so much ground to our side.
Well, they're starting to actually like grow up. The left, like they got triggered over the white power
That's
sign
funny.
and the milk and Pepe. But they're not conceding the rainbow or the hashtag. They're saying no, this is just a prank, and it's like, well, you finally like figured out that we're trying to troll you to get a reaction to see how ridiculous you've become. You're growing up, like. Bravo.
We're still taking it.
go
We'll still use it anyway.
Yeah.
We'll still use it. It's not like we're not going to. Good. We'll take it. You can go and live your own life.
We'll try again. We'll try co-op something else.
Just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Well,
just
I think on behalf of all music nerds, I reckon I could co-opt the Chopin's Fantasy Impromptu. I've already given a little,
well, so it makes some music not being able to listen to.
Yeah. I did a review of one person's performance of that actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
That is, and also the March of the Grenadiers.
Oh
Is it
yes,
the March? Yeah.
absolutely. Yes. I was thinking of making a concerto based on that. Yeah.
That's a certain connotations behind that song apparently.
And now it is 3 men on this panel tonight. Have we had a woman on the show?
Well, Dave. Does that count?
That'd be quite the scandal. Well, who knows these days? He might be one of those trans shaving Gillette
It's in
people.
the works. Let's
Don't
just put it that way.
assume my gender.
Yeah,
please.
exactly.
Yeah.
Not all women don't have beards. I mean, look at
Yeah,
him.
because we saw that.
So
new
are
Gillette.
you talking about the new police strategy? Are you segueing to the new police strategy?
Yeah, because there was a homeless woman who was murdered this week by a homeless man. He still had white male privilege, even though he was.
Yeah, he was homeless. Yeah,
Yeah,
of course,
homeless as well.
Yep,
but-
I understand.
Yeah, but it's all men's fault.
Okay, but before we go into a full discussion of this issue, we actually have leaked footage of a police press conference that may or may not be affecting. This is actually a brand new strategy, and I don't know what's going to happen, but all I've been told that it's a brand new strategy that the police have unveiled in order to prevent this kind of act in the future.
I gotta see this. I gotta see it.
It's a foolproof strategy, if you ask me as well.
Yeah, where did you get this leaks footage?
Oh.
Alright everyone, we've had a long hard think about it, and we've decided it's time to take a stand. Men, stop raping and killing women. Just stop. Don't do it. It's not the right thing to do. That's all. Thanks. Right, I'm gonna say this one more time. Men, stop raping and killing women. We told you idiots before. We're telling you again. Stop doing it. Hell, what is wrong with you, men?
Yeah, why are you still doing it? It's so bad.
Men, you all, you bastards. It's all your fault. You're all the rapists. I'll shoot you all, you f***ing males.
Hey, Chief, you need to settle down. Maybe it's not the best idea to blame all men, you know?
What? I'll f***ing shoot you too, you f***ing pig.
But, Chief, we already tell everyone that rape and murder is bad. We give them really long jail sentences, sometimes for life. Kids are told from a young age, and most Australians already know this instinctively. There are people in this world who are evil. There are people with mental illness. People who do things they regret. Bad things happen, you know. We can't be blaming all men for the actions of a few monsters. That's immoral. It's not men's fault these women all walk through parks alone at night. It's not men's fault the government took away everyone's guns so women can't defend themselves. It's not men's fault the government opened the borders. And it's not men's fault the government hands out welfare for single mothers. I mean, single motherhood is the most likely factor in creating criminality. Other than race, of course, but they are linked in many ways. Maybe we should start looking at reasonable ways to fix the problem with respect to facts and evidence, rather than just blaming all men.
You racist, sexist.
Right.
Hey, there's more! Oh, that's magnificent.
I was
Wow,
It was
where did you
leaked.
find that? That's
Oh,
incredible.
I just found it.
I was very articulate though. I would never endorse violence such as that.
What are you
Well,
talking
that
about?
was self-defense.
self-defense.
You had a gun pointed at you.
Yeah.
Like we all know that. Like that's the number one rule. Like you never point a gun, whether loaded or not, at somebody else. Like
Yeah.
you have the right to self-defense. if
And you got
someone
the
does that.
impersonation of me spot on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, And whole deep voice and everything. I figured that was if you were a cop, that's how you'd speak.
I maybe need to take go to a speech therapist and
Yeah,
learn.
everyone. I don't know why I use your face.
Because it's always funny to rip on me.
Yeah, true. That's a good point, actually. That's probably why I use your face. I don't know. It's probably why. Damn it!
Well,
I gave the game away. It wasn't. It was leaked. It was leaked, everyone. It wasn't actually me.
Oh, it wasn't you. Yeah, of
No,
course
it
not,
wasn't.
yeah.
I didn't make that.
Was it an Asian ninja?
Probably an
Yeah,
Asian ninja,
probably an
a
Asian
Japanese ninja.
Yes.
yeah.
Well,
So-
you basically
Pig.
made the point. Like it's so stupid to blame all men for
Yeah.
the actions of one man, of one monster,
Yeah.
of one homeless person.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they always try to bring it back. Oh, if you ever say anything that can be considered disrespectful of a woman, like if tell like sexist joke, for example, like women produce milk and eggs, so therefore they should be in the kitchen. That's apparently like another woman is going to get murdered
Yeah.
because you said that.
Yeah, you just contributed to a critical mass that exists. It's never been scientifically tested, but there's just this thing out there, like in the ether, that like you say enough sexist jokes and bang, it just
Yeah.
tips somebody over the
Yeah,
edge.
it's the ultimate dog whistle. Like when people are sort of saying a joke like that, it's like wink, 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 wink.
Yeah.
Did you ever see those respect women ads that were on? They were on the football, where
The ones on the train.
no, not that. There was one earlier where it's like a group of guys sitting around and like he gets a call from like his girlfriend, like speaks down to her saying like, "Oh, you don't speak over me. Do you pretend to be that stupid?" And then all their friends like, "Do you think that's funny? It's not a joke, mate."
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah,
I remember-
said no bunch of
Yeah,
guys. ever.
exactly. Most guys would be like, "What?
Yeah.
What's she doing?" He's like, "Oh, she's being a pain." Yeah, fair enough.
Oh yeah, and,
Well, it's funny. So
and then they're like, "Oh, fucking women should wait." No.
he said it. But what was really funny about that one was Bearing's take on it. He actually, because he previously had it, just put a conversation of him up with his missus, just talking to each other,
Yeah.
where they were giving each other shit back and forth, and he's like, "Well, what would happen if we just took my side of that out? Like, no, just put my side of that in and took her side out, and you put it in, and it sounds horrible.
Yes.
You put it together, it actually sounds
It's amazing, right?
It's really funny, but you
Yeah.
take it out, and it sounds just as bad, probably worse. It's really funny. It's so silly. These PC pearl clutches. I can't wait until this paradigm shift ends and we can just get back to normal conversations,
Yeah, like the
uncensored,
1980s.
or earlier than that, the
Yeah.
60s.
I didn't watch that train advertisement one. Can you just refresh me and the audience about what that was?
I've actually only ever been able to watch about 5 seconds of it, and then
Yeah.
I turned it off. I couldn't do it.
Okay, basically, it's this sort of middle-aged, early 40s woman, maybe like a 5 or a 6 at best, on her very best day, getting stared at by this bloke in a suit. But it's not like he's just staring at her, because people stare at each other on the train all the time. He's like turned around in his seat and he's just death glaring at her, like straight
Yeah.
down the camera, like that. Not with no facial expression
Yeah.
change.
Did no man ever.
No man
Yeah.
ever. No man that wasn't. It's not. There's more to it. No man that was not mentally ill is what I was going to say. But and then there's this other bloke who's sort of standing between them. So there's, if you see on the camera, there's like a guy here, the girl here, the guy here, and then there's the bloke who's sort of standing round so they can see each other. But then there's the bloke here. I don't know how we do it. Like
Basically, I
and
think
then
I've seen this. He comes in
yeah,
between,
and he walks
the
in
line of
between
sight.
them. So there's like the two there.
Yeah.
Who's on the camera? So there's the two there, people there. He's sort of there, and he sort of like walks in front of her. He's like, but inside his head, he's like, "Oh, should I do something? Nah, he's harmless. Oh, you should do something." And then he walks and blocks the view.
And I think the guy who does the blocking is,
Is
I think, like an Indian guy.
What's that?
Is like an Indian guy.
No, it's a white dude. Who
Oh, it is a
blocks.
white
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
So yeah. Cock blocking.
I remember the Human Rights Commission report on sexual assaults at universities. I remember they classified as, what is it, sexual
Staring.
harassment, staring, unwanted
Staring and
or,
saying hello when you didn't want someone to say
Yeah.
hello.
Oh my goodness.
or asking
Yeah.
out a girl. When,
Asking a girl out, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember because I was at uni. I was actually at uni studying journalism when that study came out, and all the people in the class, including the teachers, were like, "Oh, it's such a big thing," and oh, it's huge, and all the other people like, oh my god, look at this news, and as soon as I saw it, I just instantly knew that it was bullcrap, because I think it was like 6 months or a year before that, there was a similar study that came out of America that had the same methodology. And I'm like, oh, I bet this is the same thing. So I had a look at it, and yeah, class staring. And I tried to show one of the guys in the class. I'm like, well, look, this is what they're actually talking about. You know, they're not. It's not actual sexual harassment. It's just staring. Literal staring is considered it. That was like the biggest factor. And yeah, asking a girl out when she didn't want, just saying hi, was considered sexual harassment. Turned off. You know, that was the big problem. And I tried to explain it to this bloke, and he wouldn't have any of it. Like he'd be like, no, it's bad. It's like, no, look at the study. Like actually look at it objectively. But no, they wouldn't, because not only does it give you an understanding of how these university lefties think, but also explains why journalists are so crap.
Yeah.
They don't respect data. They don't respect facts and evidence. All they respect is their own narrative.
They use the same methodology for violence against women and domestic violence statistics.
Yeah.
They include like yelling and just like verbal abuse and like emotional abuse.
I've had a bowling ball.
Yeah.
Well, not a bowling ball. A billiard ball thrown at me once.
Yeah, I've had a knife thrown.
You had a knife thrown at me.
No, knife at my throat.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Shit.
yeah.
Was she South American?
No.
No, she wasn't. No.
Bettina Arndt, she's done heaps of analysis on these statistics, debunking them. She is based as fuck.
Is she based
AF.
on race?
Oh,
Is
well,
she based on race?
I don't know. Well, she has no problems associating with the Unshackled, so that
Yeah,
would
but
be
you
a
guys
first
are
step.
like a little bit, you know.
Well, maybe you should reach out to her. Maybe you should.
I'd
You
be
guys are,
amazing.
yeah, you guys are a little bit, you know. Change
We'll
the
get her
UK
on.
kind of
We'll
thing.
get her on and call her a trad thought straight up.
Yeah.
See what happens.
She's a trad gran.
Well, neither Sydney Watson nor Daisy, Daisy. What's her last name?
Daisy Cousins.
Daisy Cousins. That's the
Oh.
one.
Yeah.
Neither of them responded to my requests for them to come on the show. I guess we're just a little bit too
Well,
extreme for them.
Super mega extreme.
Super mega extreme. All right. I just reckon they're afraid. that we
I
might.
can
Call them trad
confronted.
thoughts.
No, I reckon they're just afraid that we might beat them in arguments and just point out that
That
their
they're
positions
trad
aren't
thoughts.
really based on all that much. I mean, they're just taking the path of least resistance on our side of politics, nominally on
they
our
don't
side,
want
but
it
not
to be.
quite.
They don't want it to be pointed out that they're basically making all our arguments with tits.
Well, they're not actually making all of our arguments. They're sort of copying the conservative arguments, the Civnat arguments of guys like Sargon of Akkad.
I'm a liberal.
I'm a liberalist.
Or how could you
I'm a
ban me
liberalist.
from Patreon and demonetize me on YouTube? Oh, that is like so discriminatory. Like I'm so reasonable.
That is
Well,
the best impersonation I've ever seen of Sargon.
Well, it's a fair point. It's a fair point there. But I just heard about this today. Apparently, another YouTuber. He didn't know that it was a YouTuber, but a pretty good YouTuber from what I've seen so far. As long as he's on the offensive, is the actual guy. Has gone up to Sargon because Sargon was doing these public debates, and he's asked him, well, what are we going to do with the Somalians who come here, who come to the country? Like Somalians commit a whole lot of crime or something like that. And they got into a little bit of a debate, and and Sargon.
Did Sargon
accusing-
use the magic soil argument?
No, basically, I think apparently Sargon has said that they would interview everyone in Somalia to find out if they could let Somalians in, which is a bit silly. See, the guys like Sargon and the alt-lighters, we won't call them conservatives at this point. We'll call them alt-lighters. You know, the people who are nominally on our side but aren't brave enough to
Well,
to come out.
I confronted the Dusty Bogan tonight. I was on his
Yep.
stream before with Medicine Man.
What I was going to say, sorry, was that they're just not like they'll make the point. They'll go a certain distance, but yeah, they try to make that magic soil argument, and they won't. They can't get their head around the idea that ethnicity is more than just your outward appearance. It's basically who you are. It's 40,000 years
blood,
of
it's
evolution,
genes. Yeah.
and 40,000 years of breeding, being formed by the land that you are around, and the people that you are around and the culture interacting with your genes back and forth to create you and your entire community, like your actual genetic community, like your real people. They don't understand that it doesn't make you a better person to reject that. In fact, it makes you a denier. It makes you someone who is denying the true nature of the world, which doesn't make you an intellectual. It makes you anti-intellectual. But they are like, oh, look at us, we're just above things like ethnicity. It's like, oh, I'll live with an African until they rob me. Ha 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 ha.
Well,
It's a joke.
Yeah, Dusty Bergen said he is willing to go on XYZ Live. He just said he lost the email or whatever you sent.
Fair enough.
And he is pretty hopeless with messages and that.
I figured it was something like that. I was
Yeah.
giving him shit in our chat. Well, it wasn't public, but yeah. I didn't think that he would just ignore my chat, my email, because he seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, he is.
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Oh, it's funny that you mention Africans because there was a...
They're not Africans, mate.
What?
They're teens.
yes,
teens.
Youths.
Yes.
Youths.
I think they've been called teens.
A
Yeah.
teen,
Yeah, they're called
youths.
teens. Yeah.
teen crime spree in Melbourne.
Just normal everyday teens dancing to the Spice Girls.
I'll bring it up here, though you won't like the way that I wrote this article here. I called it Melbourne terrorized by African gangs crime spree.
Oh, so you mean you actually had an honest headline?
Yes.
That's
I'm
incredible.
extremely offended by this headline, Tim.
I'm triggered.
I'm so triggered. They are obviously not African. They are teens. And they live on our magic soil. Therefore, they are Australians.
Now, this was published on Wednesday, yesterday. So this all happened on Sunday night, 8:40 p.m. Bentley East, which is like, that's sort of an affluent area of Melbourne. There was home invasion, assaulting 2 of the occupants.
I heard it was an unwanted home invasion.
Unwanted. That sounds like a home invasion. Like, have they made like pornos about like home invasions where you've like wanted people to come in?
What do you mean? Am I missing something?
Okay.
Was there an article that said an unwanted home invasion?
Yeah, so they stole jewelry, computers, handbags, and a black BMW. Stolen BMW
Jeez, that escalated quickly.
collided with a barrier on the Westgate Freeway before being dumped nearby. At 9 p.m, so this was like 20 minutes later in Port Melbourne, the gang threatened a woman putting her child into the car with a knife and fled with a Hyundai i30. Midnight, the gang broke into a home in Derrimut. So this is all over the place. Held the occupants at knife point, beating male elderly occupant. They dumped the Hyundai i30 they stole at Port Melbourne. Then they stole 2 cars here, a Mercedes sedan and a black Holden Honda. Then Monday night, there was a home invasion at Mernda at 4 a.m. They had edged weapons and poles. 41-year-old man suffered facial injuries. A woman and 2 children present were unharmed. Stole a white BMW, which was involved in a police pursuit in Geelong 50 minutes later, which they called off due to safety concerns. So this is on I think on Tuesday night, they apprehended a boy aged 17 at a shopping centre in Broadmeadows, and they released a photo of an 18-year-old accused, Ali Surya.
Sorry.
So, yeah. Now this was
I see no distinguishing features
No,
regarding
how are you
that
gonna-
person.
how are you gonna
How are we
figure out
supposed
who
to?
it is?
How are we
Yeah.
supposed to identify that person? I have no idea.
Well,
He looks like an Australian.
yeah,
Yeah.
basically looks like you, Dave.
There
You sure
were-
that
Yeah,
wasn't
pretty
you?
much.
There
It
were
could have
there were
been.
2
Yeah.
other suspects, but because they were 17, they had to get an order from the Children's Court to release their image, which took, it seems, for an eternity. They finally were released. Now they've caught all the 4 suspects and arrested 2 others. But, it's really pissed people off, the fact that, we've got to protect these, minors' identities, even though they're, rampaging through the suburbs, carrying out home invasions with knives.
Yeah. You go to bed at night, you think, okay, I can go unconscious in safety here,
Yeah,
and I'll be fine. It's crazy. It's stupid.
it's ridiculous, isn't it? And why? This is why we need our guns back, because they wouldn't be breaking in if there was a chance that someone might have a gun.
We need
Wait.
guns and the death penalty.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, they need to be deported. Every single person involved with that chase and their entire families, including cousins and uncles, get rid of them.
And
Get rid of it.
these four alleged offenders, the police confirmed that they were just out of custody.
Oh, well, there's a shock.
Yes, and
Justice at work.
I should go back to the story because 3AW was running on this quite hard. So it's a Victorian Police Commander Stuart Bastian, head of the Australian African Community Task Force. Shouldn't it be just called the Australian Community Task
Yeah,
Force?
or the Australian Teen Crime
How about
Community
the
Task Force?
how about the Australian Brain Surgeon Community Task Force?
The Basketball Australian.
Yes,
They
the
said,
basketball
they said they were chasing them vigorously and that they have been in custody before, but of course we don't have the opportunity to keep them there forever, but they are known to us.
Well,
Was that he called
there
this?
should be an opportunity to sue the police for that. You should be allowed to sue them for letting them go,
or the courts.
or the courts,
Yeah.
and the government for letting them in the first place.
Yeah, we were talking about this on Monday night. Like,
You should you
like,
should be allowed
it's-
to sue the government
it's-
for letting them in.
it's been an ongoing issue.
Yeah.
The fact that like when you look at the people who commit a lot of these murders, these rapes, a lot of them have been convicted of other crimes.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, if they were still locked up, they wouldn't have done that. Yeah.
Yep, and you should have grounds. Definitely, if it's someone who is clearly, well, I was going to say clearly not Australian, but obviously they are here on our magic soil, so they are Australian. But let's say, for instance, if someone isn't say someone's come over from Australia and they haven't had time for our magic soil to turn them into a upstanding Australian
So
citizens
they were
yet.
very, very, very new Australian.
Very new Australian, and they commit some sort of crime, then you should definitely be allowed to sue the government if you are the victim of their crime, because the government are the ones who let them in. It's the government's job to protect us from foreigners. Therefore, they have been negligent in their duties. Therefore, they should pay the price for that. Not out of taxpayers. It should come out of the political party. If you're the political party in government that let them in, it should come out of your party coffers. Every single cent, every donations. No taxpayers. Don't put the taxpayers on the hook for it. It should come out of private party funds. And if you can't afford it, well, then you have to deregister as a party, and every single member is now banned from politics for the rest of their life.
So what you're saying is that that pretty much every politician for the last 45 years is a traitor to Australia.
Well, not in those words, but I have said those words before, and I tend to agree with those sentiments.
Yeah.
I'll just finish this off. So he called this a one-off incident that has been terrible, but I don't want to underplay it at all. But at the moment, it's 4 young men who have fallen into this horrific crime.
They just fell into it.
So
They just fell into it.
so,
How horrible.
Four young men, huh? So like the media have been going nuts about 4 women who've been raped and murdered in Melbourne over the last 16 months, 18 months.
The police commissioner.
4 young men who just fell into rape and murder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they didn't say, oh, it was a one-off incident either.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like surely like this isn't about like the behavior of the community of the people of the community of people who like to sleep at night safely in their homes. This is about the behavior of new Australians, surely.
Yep. I think it is about the behaviour of new Australians. I
Yeah.
think that these new Australians clearly they haven't bathed in our magic soil enough just yet, so that they should own up to their behaviour. The whole community, all of
Yes.
them, all of these new unbathed.
I think what we need is more
New
education
Australians,
and
yeah.
probably shock value, like shock ads, like ads designed to sort of like really hit you. Like they should show it during prime time, and especially during children's time, like shock ads.
Yeah.
Like to say, oh look, this is what happens when you home invade. So
Yeah.
maybe don't do it.
Don't home
Yeah,
invade.
you don't home invade.
We should just tell them to stop, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Just stop home invading.
Yeah.
Stop home invading.
Yeah.
It is a bad thing to
That'll
home
work.
Yeah,
invade.
we shouldn't have
Yeah.
to lock
Good
our
strategy.
doors at night because that's
Yeah.
encouraging home invasion culture.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
We should, like, why should I have to lock my door and, because, that I shouldn't have to do that.
It's at this point that you call me, that I call you a slut.
But can you imagine a police
Just
commissioner
degenerating.
and like Daniel Andrews saying, Africans need to change? Like, can you imagine if like after this, like they said that?
No,
Well, I can't imagine
Yeah.
that because
Yeah.
they would never say that because they are not acting in the interests of the sovereign people of our country, as they are sworn to do.
But I noticed that when like migrant crime happens like this, like remember the Cologne sexual assault that happened in Germany?
Yeah.
The feminists tried to spin that by saying that, oh no, this is just a general man problem. So cultural diversity allowed these feminists to blame all men even more. Well,
Yeah. Well, diversity is our strength, obviously. Yes, diversity is our strength. 2 + 2 = 5. How many fingers am I holding up, Dave?
but when,
How many fingers am I holding up, audience?
4.
No. How many
Where's
fingers?
the
How
pillow?
many
Get the
fingers am
pillow,
I
get the
holding
pillow,
up?
Get the pillow.
Hey, how many fingers am I holding up?
4.
No.
4.
No.
4.
No. It's not 4. No. Oh, yeah. How many fingers am I holding up, Dave? How many fingers am I holding up, Dave? No.
we've got a crime spree on air. All right, get the prop off.
He didn't do it. He was supposed to say as many as you want.
Now, although we've got to like endure this like diversity in Australia, spare a thought for over in the UK. Even though they just had the Brexit Party win big, the Brexit Party is still pretty moderate. I mean, Farage says he's still okay with some immigration.
Well, I wouldn't be worried about that because the Brexit Party is a single issue party, and as soon as Brexit happens, then things will change. The party will probably disintegrate.
Yeah.
Which,
There'll be a
yeah.
slippery slope. Like you declare independence of the European Union, and then things will just roll on from there.
Well,
Yeah,
but,
they just need to get the Brexit issue out of the way,
but
so they can start
Farage,
fixing it.
he left UKIP because he didn't like it that it was becoming an anti-Islam, anti-immigrant party.
Well, that's his issue. Then, if he wants to go into domestic campaigning once Brexit happens, then he can fight against that. But there's still going to be a need for some party to take up these issues in Britain, whether it's Nigel Farage or not. And if Nigel Farage isn't willing to take on the issue of Islam and isn't willing to talk about blood and get into these actual deep topics, then he's, it doesn't matter how charismatic you are if you're not actually talking about the things that people want to talk about, and if you're not working to resolve real issues, then you're sort of a flash in the pan. I think he's doing his job. He's doing what he's meant to do, and that is to get Britain out of the European Union.
Stream Meditations wants to call in.
Oh,
Yeah,
does
bring
he?
him in.
Well, you've got our numbers, so you know what number to ring.
Who's he going to call?
Cool.
Oh, well, I'll get your phones out. Whoever he calls will feel special.
Dude, it's like a swingers party.
Oh, here he is. Hello, Stream Meditations. Yeah, you're on the air.
Alright, g'day. Hi everyone. So I mentioned a story from about 6 months ago. I was on a train and I had an interaction with a black person.
That's amazing. That is actually a coolest story I've ever heard.
No,
All right,
I
anyway,
haven't
back
got
to
to
the...
the juicy bits and that,
Alright.
but what happened was that this guy was really drunk. He was semi-drunk, and there weren't a lot of people on the carriage. It was just me and maybe 7 other people. And what happened was that this guy was like leaning over a woman, so she was sitting down, and he was standing over her and kind of on purpose rubbing himself on her to a certain extent, not too much, but just a bit. And I could see this from about 5 meters away, and I went and basically told him to go away. And he was like, "Oh, I'm not doing anything, and you're being racist." And I'm like, "Mate, you're drunk, okay, and she's clearly not comfortable with your behaviour, and you're also almost sexually harassing her by rubbing yourself against her." He was kind of doing it. Wasn't that overt, but he was kind of doing it. It was almost there, basically. And she felt very uncomfortable, and she didn't want to say anything. So I actually went and helped her out. And this guy actually got very angry at me, and I had to get very angry back. And we almost got into a fight. And he basically left the carriage. He went to the next carriage, and I basically followed him through a couple of carriages. Then he eventually got off at some station. I don't want to say which station because, it will give you indication of where I live. But the point is that, I almost got into a fight with this guy because he was sort of harassing a woman and he was standing over her. And on top of that, I've seen at least in my time at least 2 Indians staring at women like for a very long time. And W in the comments before mentioned that if you stare at a woman for more than 10 seconds, that's like sexual harassment apparently. Well, I think it is, maybe more than 10 seconds, but, I've seen it plenty of times where non-whites stare at women. And what I don't like is when I see these government ads where men are trying to combat sort of violence against women, and they basically show a white person staring at these women. You know those ads that you see?
Yeah, we were talking about them before.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. Because I've never seen that happen, mate. I've never seen a white person do that. Out of all the times I've seen it, out of 3 times I've seen it, it's been 2 Indians, that was about in the last few years, and also a black person 6 months ago, who I almost got into a fight with. I mean, it's crazy. If these people want to make ads realistic, they should make it more diverse, because all these ads that I see about, the taxi driver who didn't want to, that taxi driver ad with a white person. Anyway, the point is that they're all white people that are the people being bad. But more often than not, it's actually non-whites who are doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's basically a trope now that white guys are presented as the bad guys. You look at the latest series that are out. I think it's something about the bird cage, or
I don't know.
There's like, if you look at Blackpill's videos, like he just goes through series after series after series of all the latest ones that are coming out. The white guys are always the bad guys.
Oh, of course, it's the anti-white propaganda and the thing. And isn't it funny how in every other aspect of life, the government and the left want to push diversity, but not in these sexual harassment ads. Suddenly diversity is no longer our strength.
And it's funny that this is what I was saying before, white men get blamed for the adverse consequences of diversity. Like, this is what I was talking about before. Like, when the sexual assaults increase, it's like, it's an excuse, I will blame white men, even though they're not the ones responsible.
A great example of that is the Gillette ad, where guys were getting white guys were getting cock blocked by black guys in the ad. And the thing is that white guys were saying stereotypically black things to the girls.
Yeah, like, how you doing?
Yeah.
Shit like that.
Yeah.
It was a complete role reversal. I don't think Gillette's doing too well since that ad, though.
Yeah,
I think they've actually lost a lot of the market.
Apparently, their latest ad.
Yeah, that's what I said before. The trans man.
The trans.
Yeah.
I didn't even look at it. I saw people talking about it. I'm like, nah, I'm not even going to go there. No way. Can't be bothered.
Teaching a transgender child how to shave. That's where Gillette are at.
A girl how to shave.
I got one more story, Tim, if I can share it. It's about the gays as well, because they're also a bit of an issue. Like, they're very promiscuous. When I was at uni, I went to a celebration party for Tony Abbott. So Tony Abbott won the election, and I went to celebrate at a club because I was, it was like an election after party. Anyway, the point is that I went to a pub, a club, and like 12 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock, and basically they were singing songs and stuff, and I was approached by a very young gay person, probably maybe a year younger than me. And he basically was trying to talk to me. I explained to him why we're celebrating Tony Abbott's victory and stuff, and all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden, he puts his hand on my thigh, out of nowhere. And I'm like to myself, what the hell? I just got up and I said to him, this is what I said to him. I said, you touch me one more time, I'm going to smash 7 shades of shit into you. I told him that. I'm going to smash 7 shades of shit into you if you touch me again. And he's like, oh, sorry, but if you change your mind, here's my address. He gives me his address on a card. Like, I don't know, a lot of these guys have their addresses and their phone numbers on a card, because they want to pick up people straight away. And he goes, I live on Burke Street in an apartment. If you change your mind, please come and see me. I'm like, what the hell? Like, I was shocked because I was like, 21 years old, whatever it was. First time I'd experienced something like that. But I felt sexually assaulted. I mean, if you think about it, he put his hand on my thigh, and
he probably wanted to move it up.
That's allowed. I just think a lot of these gay people are very promiscuous. I don't mind, a lot of them aren't as bad as that, but for some reason, I notice it a lot, whether it be the Mardi Gras parades or anything. They're very overt about their sexuality, and what white men, if a male did to a female or something, that would be sexual assault. But
Yeah.
for some reason, the gays get away with it. You know what I mean? It's
Well,
crazy.
again, if we look at the entertainment that we have now, like that kind of behavior has been normalized. That kind of behavior has always been normal in homosexual circles, but it's been deliberately normalized throughout the rest of society.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for the call. I let it go, but appreciate the time. But I really want to share those two stories because I don't know what it is, but for some reason it happens to me a lot. Like, I don't know, it's just weird. A lot of these people, maybe I notice it more because I've got, a nationalist sort of instinct.
Well, it's also you're a public transport creature. Like you catch it a lot,
Yeah,
and so you see
I
a
go to
lot.
work every day and stuff, so I see it all the time. But it's crazy, man. Just be wary of it and be very careful because, with the black guy, I almost got into a fight. Like, I could have been hurt. I mean, he was about a head taller than me. I reckon I could have taken him on, but still, you never know. Even if you win the fight, you might get, your teeth knocked out or you might get damaged yourself. So just be very careful. But at the same time, don't cuck out. I mean, if there was a woman who's, in trouble, and she was in trouble, she was stressed, even if it's going to, you might risk your well-being, it's still worth it because I can't live in a society where, what kind of man would I be if I wouldn't support a woman like that? So we can either ignore these things or we can make a stand and, basically do the right thing as a man.
Well,
And I think we should all sort of mimic that because we can't afford, to become a society of cucks, basically.
We've got a good example of what happens when that sort of thing goes on. Remember, there was I think it was last year, there was a big, tall Indian guy who was sexually harassing and verbally abusing a woman, and there were two white guys in the carriage, and the two white guys in the carriage actually walked out. And then the woman was like, she was less angry. She
was more angry at the guys.
Yeah, she's more angry at the guys, and she was feeling sorry for the guy who was actually abusing her. But the thing is that the guys knew that if they stepped in, they would have been up for assault.
That's the thing. The white man always bears the consequences if they decide to do what should be the honourable thing.
Yeah,
that's exactly, and that's the thing. It's like, well, if I step in here, and it's like the story that I heard a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was last week, where a bloke has seen a woman trying, like, her car had broken down on the side of the road, and he's gone to help her.
Oh yeah.
And then she accused him of trying to sexually harass him. It's like
Exactly. That
thing. This is just a demonstration of how much the left have utterly destroyed our society, and how how desperately we need to remove the left and any kind of leftist brain virus from our society as soon as possible, because it's that reason. Like, if it wasn't for this brain virus, those stories that you told me about, they wouldn't have happened. They just told us about, they wouldn't have happened at all in a normal Western society, which is a traditionalist, truly white supermajority. It wouldn't happen. You wouldn't even hear about it. I mean, maybe once in a blue moon every now and then, but now these days it happens all the time. You go to clubs and you got the gay guys coming onto you in inappropriate ways, and you go to public transport and there's foreigners staring at the girls and harassing the girls and all that kind of thing. But again, if you step in, you never know what might happen, and you're like, you never know how it might get spun. And imagine if two white guys step up and protect this woman from this foreigner who's harassing them, and they hurt him, and then all of a sudden on the news it's white supreme pizzas hurt innocent Indian man on train, and it's like, no, they were actually trying to help someone. But you never know the way the media are going to spin it. So a lot of it is, you got to blame the left for what's happening, and we really need to absolutely remove them from our society completely.
About the left, you mentioned the whole thing about white people and stuff. I remember I saw a video of a German feminist being interviewed. Now, this German feminist was raped by Arabs, refugees, and she basically reported it to the police, but she told the police that it was white people who raped her. And when she was asked why she said that white people raped her instead of saying the truth that Arabs raped her, she said because she didn't want to give the far right ammunition to basically further their anti-immigrant agenda. So she literally blamed white people for raping her because to her it's more important to not give them oxygen and ammunition than the truth. And she falsely accused white people, her own people, for what happened to her. I mean, how cussed can you be? How much of a traitor or a scum do you have to be to lie against your own people because you feel sorry for immigrants who literally raped? I mean, these people, these lefties, they're insane. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, well, it's really important that we remove them from all avenues of influence and power as soon as possible before society literally falls apart. It will fall apart if we don't actually stop it.
While we're talking about men, stepping in to defend.
So,
women,
did you need to go, Stephanos?
Yeah. One more thing. God bless Greece. God bless Neil Erickson. God bless Australia.
God bless Israel.
See you later.
Cheers.
See ya. Thanks for calling in. Yeah, so because it was fresh in my head, this was shared by Bettina Arndt, again. Woman charged with attack of heavily pregnant woman. And it says here that a passerby in a black tracksuit intervenes. Now, they just called this a passerby, but if I go back to Bettina Arndt here, watch the social justice warriors ignore the story of a woman viciously attacking a heavily pregnant woman who was ultimately rescued by two men. Imagine the fuss if the attacker had been a male. And I just showed you hang on, I've got to bring this back here, the article there. They didn't want to mention that the passerby was male.
Ah, yes, of course, because
It goes against the narrative.
it goes against the narrative. Everything goes by the wayside if it affects the narrative. It was like that interview in the video, the married to the alt-right, the married at first sight to the alt-right thing. One of the very first things he says is, "Oh, well, nationalists don't do interviews." That's a fact. And that's not true. It's not that nationalists won't do interviews. It's that when they do interviews, they're either heavily censored or they don't put them up because they don't fit the narrative, or in certain cases, they do the interviews, they get shown, and a bunch of lefty soy cuck activists whine into their latte milks, their soy lattes, and they pull their tampons out of their butt and go and throw them at sponsors. That's just what happens. So but that got put in there without challenge. It got put in there without a single challenge because it fit their narrative.
They pull their tampons out of their butts.
Yes. they pull their tampons out of their butts to throw them at sponsors to get them to pull ads.
Yeah,
well, we may as well segue into that now, because that married to the alt-right, that just broke when we were on the air last week, so we didn't have a chance to properly digest it, but it's been a week later now. So the alt-right newlyweds Lisa Sanford and Justin,
I've actually given the alt-right a new name. It's the all-right.
It's all right with you.
We are the
All right.
Well, yeah.
I've got a video coming out tomorrow and I've called it the all-right.
Does it have the hashtag?
I haven't done the hashtag, no, but the old name for the FNATs is all right. The all right.
I like that. Yeah.
You mentioned off air that you didn't know of the couple. I'd
never heard of them before.
I've in the past had some colourful dealings with Lisa Sanford. She's had quite the reputation in the nationalist movement. I'm not going to go into them now, but I'm not surprised that she and Justin have done this. And well, first of all, I think the reporter was right to ask, how do we know, we believe you now, or you just, sorry you got caught, and, sort of pleading for forgiveness to the ABC.
God bless, Globo Hobo.
Nobody's buying that, and everyone was just in the comments saying cringe, worst Married at First Sight spin-off ever.
Yeah. There was, before we talk about this further, everyone, after this video, go over to my BitChute channel. The latest video I put up is some genuine footage of Justin at a pool party.
I haven't met Justin.
It's on my BitChute channel. You'll need a VPN to go and see it because Australian ISPs are also traitors. Let's just put it that way. I think TPG's stopped blocking sites, but Optus and
Oh,
Telstra definitely have.
don't mention that because you might give them ideas.
I think they blocked and then unblocked.
Oh, okay.
So I don't actually know if that's the case 100%, but I'm pretty sure a few people. Well, I'm pretty sure because a few people have said the TPG's fine. But anyway, go watch after this. Go to my BitChute channel, and you'll see this latest video. If you don't know what my BitChute channel is, you can just go to any one of my videos and it's a link. It's linked in there. Anyway, yeah, with the Married at First Sight to the alt right, the all right.
I thought you were going to say... Oh, Dave, do you want to say something
Well,
about
I thought that your analysis was excellent, Matty.
There's so much more to talk about, but I wanted to keep it under 20 minutes.
Yeah, fair enough. But, your analysis where like they try to say that, or the woman tries to say, I went to an Islamic country and I had experience of
which
another
wasn't
culture.
true, which actually was a flat out lie.
Yeah.
She lied about that,
Yeah.
but anyway,
Yeah, and that's what that's what made me realize that Muslims are people too, and
Yeah.
I stopped being a Nazi because of that, basically.
yeah.
So like you
Not a Nazi, a Nazi.
a Nazi, yeah. So you pointed out like the studies actually show that contact with other cultures actually radicalizes people, makes us
Doesn't radicalize people, it just flicks their in-group preference on.
yes.
It makes them more exclusionary and more want to go with their own. And this is the look. There are other studies that imply the opposite, which I don't believe, for one very reason. And I'll put that into the. I didn't mention these other studies because you can essentially dismiss them due to the concept of white flight. The fact is, white flight is people of a European heritage escaping suburbs that are getting taken over by foreigners or people of other ethnicities. So they leave, and they won't actually say that's the reason, but it is the reason because it's not just white flight that happens. You get Spanish flight, you get Hispanic flight, and you get black flight, and all this kind of things. People tend to segregate along ethnic and racial lines. It's just a natural thing that happens. So the idea that people would become more exclusionary when exposed to people of other ethnicities, well, that just fits in with what we know to be true.
It's borne out by the data, basically.
Yeah, it's borne out by the data, and it's borne out by the observed experience of what you see people actually do, like the fact, the way people segregate, the way people socialize. And I know that when I drive through Melbourne, I don't like the CBD. I don't feel like I'm in Melbourne, and it makes me really uncomfortable.
This is borne out by my own experience as well, because one of the things that red-pilled me before I really got red-pilled was just experience of like different culture after different culture after different culture. I actually got sick of having to like learn like a few words of another language, of having to like learn about like another place that like another person has come from, of having to learn another word for what is essentially meat wrapped in dough with a few veggies and spices mixed in. It made me yearn for my own culture, and it made me remember like what life was like in my childhood when the Anglo culture of Australia was more forthright.
And I'll tell. You can tell. I'll tell you my story as well.
You tell your story because I'm sort of leading this back to that original question that she asked. But yeah, you
see the story. People who have been fans of my work for a while will know that when I was 4 years old, me and my family moved over to Hong Kong, which was a British colony at the time. So it was run and owned and organised by the British people. Most people spoke English there. But obviously it was 99% Chinese, essentially. And I actually went to an English school, which, for want of a better word, was multicultural. So there was an English group, there was English people there, there were Indian people there, and there were like Koreans and Japanese and all this kind of thing. So I had exposure to all these different cultures. And the one thing that of all about my childhood in Hong Kong is how much I wanted to come back to Australia to be around Australians. It was annoying because when I came back to Australia, because of my mild autism, I hadn't been accustomed to Australian culture, so I didn't fit into Australian culture, and I still don't fit in very easily because all through my early life, I was around all these other different people and other cultures and all that kind of thing. And coming back to Australia, an experience. I was much happier. I would much prefer to be around my own people, but I didn't quite know how to fit in with Australian culture, and I've sort of lost that. And I didn't have that, and I always yearned for that when I was growing up. I actually yearned to play sport, especially. I lament the fact that I missed out on probably 5-6 years of organised sport when I was a kid. So yeah, I was way behind, and
Just the cricket and the footy.
The cricket, the footy, and I didn't play. I played soccer. I mean, when I was in under sevens, well, under eights. So when I was playing under eights soccer, I was one of the better players on the team. But when I came back, everyone was better than me. Well, I was an alright cricket player when I was 8 years old. I was okay. I sucked when I went out, but
Didn't we all?
yeah, but I had a cry when I went out. But I was still all right at playing cricket. Like compared to the other 8-year-olds, I was pretty good compared to the other 8-year-olds. Come back here, 4 years behind everyone, and I was terrible. Like so, and I missed that. And that's that's the time when you get that development. That's the really important time, especially for hand-eye coordination and socialization and all these things. So I missed out on that. And even another story I remember over in Hong Kong, I did judo, and I thought judo was okay for a little while, and I didn't mind it until the 2 other white kids left, and then I didn't want to do judo anymore. Now I didn't realise why that was the case. In my mind, I couldn't articulate what the problem was. I mean, I sort of knew that it was because of the other white kids, but in my head it was like, oh, because I don't have black hair and they all have black hair, and that's how I articulated it as a 10-year-old. But yeah, and then. Yeah, that essentially, yeah, I always longed to come back, and I always had that ethnic in-group preference. It really, I mean, I had friends, like most of the friends that I spent time with were not white, because that was just the people that my mum made friends with. You know, she made friends with the mothers, and we had, we had friends with kids in the area. And I think the kid that we were most friends with was actually the kid that was half French. So surprise, surprise. My point is, what she was saying in that video is it's wrong. It's not the way I experienced it. It's not the way most people experience other cultures and then reflect back to their own. They don't go to other cultures and think, oh, well, I guess I just don't like my culture as much anymore. No. There are some people who are really, really prejudiced and bigoted, and they hate other cultures just because they're different. I mean, I don't hate other cultures just because they're different. That's just silly. It's a waste of time. Precept 28, by the way. Go look it up. Precept 28. But yeah, it's just a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. So there are some people who experience other cultures and think, oh, look, I guess they're not too bad. But a much more common experience is to have that contact with other cultures, and just realize how much you love your own, and how much you prefer your own people, and that you really want to protect your own people. And that's why I mentioned it, and that's why it's important to build that narrative and explain that to people.
It's important to tell stories like that, because our shared history of growing up playing footy and cricket in the backyard gives us shared experiences. It gives us a shared language.
Yep.
Like all the kids of my generation, like we can say a line from The 12th Man and we'll all know what we're talking about. Yeah. It's again why this whole magic soil idea just does not work, because like we've got it just for our generation, just for our just for us growing up, and then you multiply that again and again and again. It just becomes exponential when you just go back throughout the centuries and the millennia. This is what I find really interesting. Like if we link the very first question that they got asked, like how do we know that this isn't a troll, and then her trying to use the line that she experienced another culture and stop being a naughty racist.
They're like Muslims are like people like too.
Yeah. So this is the point. It is actually possible that it was a troll, or at the very least, like they understand what the media wants to hear. They understand that the media wants to hear, oh, we went to another culture, experienced another culture, and stopped being racist. And so they figure that that's their ticket back into normie land.
Yeah.
And she also blamed, like anti-feminism. MRA was a gateway to
MRAs are the gateway drugs of neo-Nazi.
I started thinking about men's rights.
And
all of a sudden, I wanted to Separate.
And Justin, he blamed 4chan. So it was basically like this.
Yeah,
is
they were
what,
feeding into the narrative. They were feeding the media narrative. The media lapped it up. You could see that they seemed like they had sort of a nice little setup where they were as well.
Well, did you notice the candles behind?
Yeah, I noticed the candles behind. I didn't point the candles
I
out
can
in the
guarantee
video.
She picked them. Yeah.
Oh, of course, the candles in the background, and it just seemed to me because of what I think Saul mentioned it in his response that she was worried about losing her job, or they were worried about having financial difficulties, and
Clearly, he was worried. He kept playing with his sock.
is he?
Yeah.
Whatever. I thought he seemed like a, I don't know. It just, Saul explained it well. Saul said that they were lost souls. They seemed like lost souls. They didn't seem like they knew what they were doing. They looked like they were flying around. They weren't being true to themselves. They were desperate to get back into normie land, and they did whatever they could, and they ended up making utter fools of themselves on camera. And it was like, well, just own it,
So
just own it.
the
Like,
moral
come
of-
on.
the
Now
moral of-
you're just a traitor, and you're not going to be accepted by the normies anyway.
The moral of the story is that entryism will get you nowhere.
Yeah.
So should they be nominated for a Oscar?
For the cuck of the week.
Yeah, they can
Cucks
go
of the
cuck of the week.
Cuck of the
Cuck
week,
of the
yeah,
week,
yeah. Cuck, that would be a glorious honour for them, though.
No, I was going to get to it before, but I want to get to it now. This is the UK Army, charged with defending Queen and Country, has released a flyer internally. Extreme right-wing indicators of minorities.
It's a Holden XRW.
We came up with...
Yeah, it sounds like a hotted up car.
We came up with this thing because The Guardian described Fraser Anning's party as extreme far right, and so we've come up with what is it? Super, mega, ultra, extreme far right.
It's indicators of what?
This
This is the British Army. This is really. It's actually quite scary because the kind of personality that would be drawn to the army is the kind of personality that they would describe as this. But if they're gonna
you just summed it up.
But here's the thing: if they're gonna not let those kind of people join the
go
army,
through it.
those kind of people, their instincts aren't gonna change just because you don't let them into the army. What they're doing here, which is very scary, is they're looking to cleanse their ranks of patriots and probably fill them with foreigners, so that you are going to have a foreign army occupying British soil. This, to me,
I've been
is
talking
a
about
step
this.
towards civil war, an actual bloody civil war.
I've been talking about this for a few years.
Yeah.
Like because they've been doing the same thing in the Australian Army.
Yeah.
They understand that the ultimate thing that determines the course of a revolution, whether it's successful or not, is whether the army is prepared to stand by the government or whether the army turns on the government.
Yeah.
Like Napoleon, he put artillery on civilian protesters. In the Russian Revolution, the army sided with the people who'd been duped, and they just massacred the royal family, and they took over. The reason an army is going to side with the people is because the army looks like the people and knows the people. There's a reason why, like in the old days, if a king wanted to quell rebellion, he would not quell rebellion with the troops from that province. He would send troops from another province to that province.
Yeah.
This is absolute standard operational procedure for a regime that wants to maintain
A tyrannical
control.
regime
Yeah.
as well, a regime that is planning on oppressing the people with brutal violence.
Yeah.
That's what's really scary about it, because this is them moving one of their pieces towards genuine, brutal, real oppression of our people. They want to get rid of the white man out of the army. They want to replace it with foreigners, and then they want to use those foreigners to oppress us. We can't let this stand. But there's not much else they're going to keep doing it.
wrote in my article today that basically with these guidelines you may as well surrender the UK to the globalists. I mean,
You actually can, and there's a reason for this too, and applies here in Australia as well. If Australia was invaded tomorrow, I would not join the army.
Yeah, I wouldn't join it.
I will not fight for the most successful multicultural nation in the world.
Yeah.
If you look at the way that the last few major wars have been fought, they've been fought by total war, by drafting the whole of a people to fight for survival of their state. The reason they did that because they were connected to each other through the bonds of a nation. If Australia was invaded tomorrow, I would defend my nation, but I would not defend Australia.
I'd look to form a militia with an independent group and defend our territory with potentially other militias of our people. But no, I would never sign up. I wouldn't sign up to defend the Australian state.
I'm pretty sure
they are against our people.
I'm pretty sure that we're not the only ones who see it this way, and I think that you're going to get more and more people who see it that way, both here and in England if things keep going the way they are. What that means is that both Australia and England are essentially defenseless.
Yeah.
Because if a foreign army wants to invade, they can rely on the fact that Australia or England, like the population, is not going to rise up against them. All they have to worry about is defeating like the standing army, and that's it.
I want to go through this flyer.
That's why taking our guns away is such a crime.
Because it's sort of like, you can sort of
To
play
move
a bit
towards
of,
genocide.
it's like a bingo board here. You can see, so describe themselves as patriots.
And it's funny, but it's actually no laughing matter. This is really, it's what they're doing here is extremely dangerous. It's really dangerous, and it is another escalation in war. This is them saying that they do not want British nativists, people who would defend their people and their country, to join the army. And whoever thought this up and whoever approved this is guilty of high treason against the English people.
Oh, well,
guilty.
You can't look at opponents as traitors. That's bad.
Well, that's funny how they're trying to protect themselves, because whoever did this is a traitor.
Refer to individuals ready to challenge their extreme right-wing views as being indoctrinated. Refer to political correctness as some left-wing or communist plot.
What? They're on drugs, man. Like this is ridiculous.
It's all like this is all basically designed as a straw man, and as also a basically an ad hominem. So if you bring up any of these arguments, you can respond with, well, you're just an extreme right winger. Yeah. And therefore, like, if you bring up any of these things, we can dismiss your arguments out of hand.
Use blatantly untruthful, incorrect references, according to who, to immigration, Judaism, or Islam. Add Istan to British place names.
Like London.
Yeah. Use the term Islamofascism. Describe multicultural towns as lost. Discuss the creation of white-only communities.
Good idea.
Have tattoos with overt or covert extreme white ring iconography. Become increasingly angry at perceived injustices or threats to so-called national identity.
Isn't that why you join the army? Isn't that why you join the army? You're like, what? They're basically saying if you are British, don't join the army. If you're a British nationalist, if you are a British person who wants to defend the British people, don't join the army. That's the message they are sending here. And this is get armed, British people, very quickly.
Involve colleagues in closed social media groups. The evil social media.
Jeez.
What else have we got here? Threaten violence when losing an argument, although claiming extreme right-wing groups protest peacefully.
Oh my goodness!
Isn't that exactly what the left does?
It's like these guys have read every single article and said, okay, this makes you... every single article we've ever put out, this makes you an extreme...
They read the XYZ.
This makes you a WR.
The
XRW.
The XRW, the XYZ. Yeah. The British Army reads the XYZ. That's hilarious.
Claim that it is acceptable to abuse Jews or Muslims as Judaism or Islam are not races.
All right. So you can't be critical. So you can't be critical of ideologies that. Okay.
Yeah.
What about Christianity? Oh, no, notice I haven't mentioned Christianity.
I'm pretty sure, like saying, why is it not okay to?
Is it? It's okay to be
That,
white.
that makes you an
Yeah, of course.
WRX or
There are
XYZ
any
or
more good ones
whatever.
here. Have extreme right wing group stickers or badges on clothing and personal items. So you better take away your Pepe.
Take away your rune badges.
Jeez, I
Yeah.
hope someone in the army, like someone high ranking in the army, realizes what's going on here
Yeah.
and starts to think very seriously about their commanding officer.
Yeah, if you are
Because
concerned,
holy crap, that this should send shivers down your spine. That if this is approved material, this
it is. It's been confirmed.
Oh.
This is not a troll. This is actually.
just-
This
is-
is the army.
yeah.
This is the army that initiated disciplinary action against the boys who mobbed Tommy Robinson.
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, so if you are.
Who's in charge of the British Army right now?
Yeah.
Do you know what they need? What they really need is true political change. Because if you got people in Westminster to actually represent the people, then you could get rid of this very, very quickly. That's what they desperately need as quickly as possible.
I'll just finish it off. If you are concerned about the behaviour of any member of the army, you should report your concern through the C of C and the Army Warning Advisory and Reporting Point, WARP.
P.S. Perpetrators will be beheaded in public.
So yeah, it reads like, it's a troll, but
Yeah.
it's been confirmed as legit.
Jeez.
That's just horrendous.
Ugh.
This is hopefully as soon as Britain gets out of the EU, that kind of thing can be plastered up and everyone can actually show this is what the army are doing. This is the army moving their pieces towards the brutal oppression and eventual extermination of the British people. I guarantee that's what that is.
Let's return to Australian politics briefly, because we're sort of all zonked out because of the election, but the new cabinet was sworn in, and of course, it's got to have gender diversity, and much was made that Ken White was the first Indigenous cabinet minister, and he was an Indigenous person in charge of Indigenous affairs.
That portfolio shouldn't even exist.
Yeah, and neither should multicultural affairs.
Yeah, that shouldn't exist either.
Yeah.
There should be a portfolio for defence and
PM&C.
that'll do.
Yeah.
Portfolio for defence, maybe a portfolio for internal security and the welfare of those who can't protect themselves. Those two.
And Scott Morrison, he did get rid of, if she's referred to as the laughing stock minister, Melissa Price, Minister for the Environment.
Was she the ranger?
Yeah, the big ranger.
Yeah, the one who said that whenever there are women in cabinet, they all make a point of backing each other up and saying, "Oh yeah, that's a really good idea." Yeah.
Yeah, well, I read an article pointing out that she is a dud. She made a series of blunders where she tried to sort of say what the media wanted her to say. Oh yeah, bushfires, they are caused by climate change, and everyone was asking where she was during the election. When you've got a minister in witness protection, but it just shows trying to if there was a quota girl, it was her.
That whole climate change thing seems a bit crazy given how cold it is. It's not even winter.
Every
It's
winter
freezing.
seems to get colder.
Yeah, the ground solar minimum is here. And
Yeah.
you're right, last
Read
winter
David
was
Hilton.
really cold. And I reckon if it continues on trend, if this is not just a weather aberration and winter actually gets colder, then we'll probably see snow in Melbourne again.
I don't think we should have a minister for the environment, because that's just a minister for green tape, blocking projects being approved because of some winged bird or something that's going to go in a blender or something.
Me and Dave coined a new saying, a new slogan. You see, when we are pronounced, or when I'm pronounced king of the Australian ethno-state and Dave is my first minister, we're going to build 3 power plants in every state, a coal power plant, a nuclear power plant, and a natural gas power plant, as big as we need to. And our slogan's going to be build them all.
The
Build
idea
them
is,
all.
if you build them all at the same time, there are too many places for all the lefties to blockade, and so they're going to get built.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then we can arrest the lefties one by one.
Yeah, you just pass a move on law.
Yeah. I think any leftist...
Just run the jolly bastards over.
Any leftist that protests the construction of a new coal, nuclear, or natural gas power plant,
He's a
they should be banned from using electricity for 10 years. Not even.
Yeah.
I'm deadly serious. No electricity for 10 years. We could like set up a little, where's the map here? So have a look at the map behind us, or like I'm like a weatherman
Yeah,
here.
you're doing a good job.
So I reckon Queensland's. We wouldn't want to inflict it on Queensland. I reckon we put them
South Australia.
here, like in this sort of area.
Oh, you
here.
mean that's the lake.
Where's
Ayers Lake.
where's Broken Hole? Is that sort of over
Yeah,
here?
yeah,
yeah,
sort of
bit
near
that way,
it,
yeah.
That sort of area. So we'll just put them. Why inflict it on only one state? So we'll give them like a territory in 4 states, and we'll say this is an electricity-free zone,
Yeah.
and you have to stay in that electricity-free zone for the next 10 years. We'll send you food, but it'll be crappy food. It'll be vegan burgers from Hungry Jack's. But and then you have to do that for 10 years with no electricity, and then come back and let us know whether you think you were right to protest the power plants or not.
I will support that motion.
We'll touch upon
Well,
Labour.
all you have to do, you're the hand of the king.
We'll touch upon Labor because they had their caucus meeting today. Now, there was a lot of concern because, Anthony Albanese elbows the new leader, but the new deputy is Richard Marles, who's a man. Now, Penny Wong, she's remaining as Senate leader, but Don Farrell, who was the deputy Senate leader, he's had to stand aside, give up his position for a woman, so there's equality within the leadership position. So Christina Keneally is the new deputy Senate leader.
She's forever known as Token. She will forever be known as what is it, Christine?
Yeah, she actually
Christine
said,
Token Keneally.
Yeah, I'm glad that I'm able to fulfill diversity. That's what she said today in a press conference.
That's amazing. I got my role because I have tits and a vagina.
Oh well, Bill Shorten.
And to be fair, she is deputy Senate leader to a man. So
Penny Wong.
Benny Wong.
Benny
Yeah,
Yeah,
Bill Shorten.
Benny Schlong?
He gave his what would you call it? A farewell as leader address to the caucus, where he blamed vested interest for his
Well, like
defeat.
Get Up.
Oh no, he was. I don't know who he is.
Like Get Up, like or
Or the unions.
the
or,
unions. Yeah,
yeah.
like is that that's powerful?
Blame
messages?
the
Sort of-
media.
vested
Well,
interests.
one media outlet, because there was one media outlet, the Murdoch media, that wasn't 100% supportive.
Oh yeah, the Murdoch media.
Murdoch media.
The Murdoch media.
Let me
There
guess.
wasn't fawning.
He didn't mention the XYZ.
No. He
Yeah.
wouldn't have.
Yeah.
But the Sydney Morning Herald mentioned the meme war.
They
lost
mentioned
the
page
meme.
1, page 2, page 3, page 4.
I don't think
page
we were in
5.
that. I'm pretty sure Make Australia Grouse Again was
I
like
hope he
page,
is,
was
yeah.
like page 2. But I'd like to know who the other ones were, because there was some hardcore postage there, wasn't
Yeah,
there?
there was.
Like hundreds of posts in a month. That's a lot of memes.
But yeah, it's going back to. He also blamed lies and propaganda, which is also. Does he mean Metascare by that?
Yeah. It's funny the left complaining about lies and propaganda. It's
Propaganda was good for the goose is good for the gander.
The only reason the left are even close to the reins of power is because of lies and propaganda. If lies and dishonest propaganda based on lies, which would be dishonest propaganda, I guess, if they were made illegal and you had a real truth test, like an actual genuine truth test, like you had to prove that you've done your due diligence and that you weren't flat out lying, you didn't have to prove that you were right, you only had to prove that you weren't lying. If that was put into our law, the ALP wouldn't exist, the Greens wouldn't exist, the Socialists wouldn't exist, the entire left would not exist. They would cease to exist overnight if it was illegal to lie in public in such a manner.
The Conservatives wouldn't exist.
The
either.
Conservatives wouldn't
It'd be
exist.
amazing.
We'd basically be able to. We'd have unfettered rule over this country because we'd be the only ones allowed to talk.
You're thinking about this king business, aren't you?
Well, I made myself king of the ethno state on my Discord server. So,
Or careful it doesn't get leaked to the ABC.
wow, it's a public Discord server. So, if they want to, there's some pretty offensive memes up there. If you want to go and and have a look at them. I just don't care. I'm like, well, offensive is fine.
We've been trying to get leaked onto the ABC for about 4 years. So.
Yeah, they don't mention us anymore because they don't want to spread our message.
They're actually afraid. Like that's the thing about the Age.
Oh yeah, they said we've chosen not to name the meme pages.
Yeah,
yes. So as not to spread their message because they know that every time they do, we go gangbusters.
Yeah, we get
it's
popular.
amazing.
Yeah. Because I was interviewing my New Zealand counterpart last night, and like when their outlet News Hub like did an expose on the far right in New Zealand, they had trigger warning. We're about to show an alt-right chat here, and some viewers may find this distressing.
Oh, that was in the Married at First Sight to the alt-right.
No, this was the New Zealand News Hub guy. They've got this reporter over there. I can't remember his name, but he's sort of like the New Zealand equivalent of Alex Mann. He's sort of got this obsession with the far right in New Zealand. I'll see if I can bring it up.
Why does it Manlet? Come on my show. Come on our show. Come on XYZ Live, Manlet. Come on, mate. Why won't you?
It'd be amazing.
I've got his name here. Patrick Gower. That's his name. He's the New Zealand version of.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, he's warning about attacks from white supreme pizzas.
So they're always doing the basically slander by inference.
Yeah, of course. They're just dishonest. Like if you weren't allowed to lie, then that would be against the law. That kind of thing should be against the law.
Yeah.
It should be against the law to slander by inference. It should be against the law to lie by structure. It should be against the law to put any kind of dishonest messaging within any kind of article. If it's a journalistic article, it should be bare bones facts. Bare bones facts. We found this. We found that. Bare bones facts. No finding experts that are no biased experts.
Yeah, that's what they always do.
Yeah,
they
always
an
an
expert.
In this article that we talked about on Monday, I'm putting my own full response video up. They got the bloody Anti-White Rose Society is an expert. And then they got this other guy,
activist group,
not an activist, not a far left
anti-white activist,
anti-white activist group, but the Anti-White Research Society. And then they got that Dr. Ebola, who was some anti-white activist
he was
as
from
well.
The Online Hate Prevention Institute.
Yeah, and this was put up as some sort of objective report. Okay, put it up as an opinion. Put it up as your opinion. That's fine. If you want to put that up as an opinion piece, I am totally okay with that. But don't label it as objective journalism. That is a lie. That is not an objective journalistic
until
article.
This changes, the XYZ will continue to launch clickbait headlines.
Yeah, of course.
As we can. Much as we possibly can.
We'll tell the truth within the article, but I think we should be as clickbaity and as just don't stoop to their level of dishonesty. Be honest about it, but definitely stoop to their
I can't
tactics.
believe I never ran with the headline, Fraser Anning supporter defends himself against communist whore.
But a lot of the reason the lefties they now want to move to New Zealand after the election result is because there actually is no Murdoch over there. It's the left have got a free reign.
That explains
there.
a lot.
It's a Murdoch-free zone.
I thought it was really funny that a whole lot of lefties were looking for visas to New Zealand when you don't.
Not Indonesia. They don't want the
You don't
diversity.
need a visa to go
No,
over
you
to
don't.
New Zealand.
Because
You don't even know immigration law.
They're all on the visa site finding out what visa they need to get to New Zealand.
When I went to New Zealand to cover the election, there,
Maybe they, and you know what? They can take all of our Australian coins over there and use that in New Zealand as well.
yeah,
Maybe why New Zealand? Why not Indonesia?
Why
not Fiji?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not Indonesia? Don't they believe that Islam is a religion of peace?
Yeah, I obviously they don't.
Yeah.
But good riddance. Maybe what we should do. This is how we can have our peaceful separation.
Yeah.
We can send all the lefties to New Zealand to
yeah.
cede that territory. Let the native Maoris
No,
deal with them eventually,
yeah,
and
the
then
other-
we'll have all the
You
conservatives.
had this
and-
conversation on
yeah.
Monday. You were like, no, they don't get New Zealand. New Zealand is too nice. We don't want them having New Zealand.
well, you know
Isn't that what he- is that what he said?
the Maoris over there, they're actually ethno-nationalists themselves.
Yeah.
Like Winston,
And they have ethno-nationalist tattoos as well.
They're XRW.
Like everyone, the left makes a big deal. Oh, there's a treaty between the Maoris and the white people, but that treaty was basically the Maoris saying, okay, we'll accept the white Europeans in, but nobody else.
Is that what? Yeah. So they haven't. They didn't accept the diversity, did they?
No.
That's
So
a fair point. So they should be up in arms about
because that
it, really,
treaty's been violated.
It has been violated. The Maori Treaty has been violated by left-wing globalist communists Maoris, if you're listening to this, you should
Rise up.
Rise up. No, don't. Don't do
No,
that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just be angry. Be angry. Ask the question. Ask the question. Ask the question. Rise up figuratively at the ballot box and as activists, peaceful activists. We don't want any kind of violence here.
We're going up to an hour and a half
Oh,
now.
can we finish now, please?
Yeah. Where the other topics aren't that important.
Anyway,
Yeah.
let's. Can we call it?
Yeah.
Call it. Yeah.
There was a few
I've talked
people
about
complaining about there was some lagging during the stream. I did have it on the right internet connection, so I've got to have a word to our ISP saying what's going on, because we pay for high quality internet. So I'll be
Who's
having
your ISP?
I don't want to name them just in case.
You don't want to name them. Name them. This is that echo again. Jeez, I just.
Aren't they all?
And
I think so.
I would encourage everybody who views this stream to subscribe to the Uncuckables channel. We want to get to 1,000 subs so we can start fighting over the super chats that start coming our way.
I reckon once we get super chats, Tim is going to be the tightest ball bag.
Well, because you said we just want to spend it on beer. That's what you said. Like.
Well, the last one. That's right. We got super chats last time, and you didn't shout beer. You owe us beer. He owes us beer.
We invest in the old media scene. We don't blow it on beer.
Beer is how we.
Beer is an investment.
It's how we get the clicks.
Well, seeing that.
How do you think I come up with my headline?
Were you not entertained by our
You were
live stream?
housebound.
It's called
Hey?
drunk.
You were housebound the next day.
Uh-oh.
It's
I wasn't. I
It's
actually had to
called
go
drunk
exercise.
blogging.
Yeah, I thought our content was fantastic. That was an investment in beer. Very thanks.
If you can
Peter.
think of some sort of piece of infrastructure we can jointly buy, then we can find a use for the collective super chats. You can't think of one.
Beer is infrastructure.
So I'm just gonna have to just hoard all of
What
that.
about-
If anybody wants to listen, what you should do, listen to the Uncuckables live stream from the election night. Listen to when Scott Morrison came on to give his victory speech, because this guy wanted to go to the pub, and I didn't want to go to the pub. I wanted to hang around.
The beer, we'd finished the beer though.
Yeah.
It was done.
Yeah,
It was
and
cooked.
so this guy was just
It was getting late.
determined to make sure that he was going to get to the pub one way or another.
And you managed not to I was you were pretty drunk, but you managed not to trip over a cord and ruin the whole stream.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But just listen to some of Matty's commentary when Scott Morrison gave his victory speech.
I
It was amazing.
thought it was fantastic content, and I thought I was the star, and I think it would be great if we could get to 1,000 subscribers and start getting super chats. And it would be great if everyone could subscribe to Matty Rose Live and start giving us, so we could start getting super chats.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
subscribe to Unshackled YouTube
yeah,
channel.
Unshackled.
We're getting some super chats.
Get over
as
to
well.
get over to us on. Get over to me on BitChute as well, because YouTube censorship is on the rise. And whether it's algorithm.
Well, we're hoping that Gab TV is successful this time, because you shared the status update from Gab.
Yeah,
today.
they Gab's been a bit slow lately because they're doing all these code updates and all that kind of thing.
Few people are mentioning in the chat. Would you guys consider doing 1 or 2 live streams every now and then, just on Unshackled or your main?
I'm doing another live stream tomorrow night with the Dusty Bogan.
I suppose I could actually stream the Uncuckables to my own channel. That's a thing.
That'd be huge.
I could actually, because there's no reason I'd have to leave it up there, and I could get super chats that way.
And then you could get drunk every second Thursday night.
And then we can all be jealous of
But
each other.
then I
again.
have to wake up at 8 in the morning the next day, and that would be a bad idea.
Yeah.
I'll
Oh, well,
take-
you can just I guess you can do super chats sober.
We can do super chats.
And we've all got our own support programs. Your own Subscribestar, Patreon, XYZ's on Patreon, Unshackled's on Patreon, PayPal. We also have our own web membership program. So
Smash the like button. Smash that like button. Share the stream. Share the stream.
There's no excuse for you to not support us. We don't put up a paywall like Murdoch.
Murder.
So we're giving you all this for
Great.
free. So
We pay for the Murdoch news So we read it, we comment it on it for you, and we explain to what happens.
And also, Murdoch, greatest show ever made.
Yeah, that one too. Okay, look, can we finish this now?
Yep, all right. So
Audio.
make sure you visit XYZ, The Unshackled, and sub to Maddie Rose Live,
And Maddie's Modern Life. The other one.
Maddie's Modern Life, and we'll see you next week.
The Uncuckables.